You're about to discover 8 services that could change the way you cruise forever. Hi, I'm Gary Bembridge. This is another of my tips for travelers. I want to share with you 8 amazing services that I think could help you think about and cruise very differently. Starting with this one, finding a cruise mate. If you're a solo traveler, you are often hit with a big surcharge for double occupancy. So finding someone to cruise with you is the way to go. However, you might not have friends or family that want to go cruising. So there are a whole bunch of really interesting services that help you find a cabin mate. There's probably 3 big buckets of ways that you can do that. First of all, there are very specific cruise agents that will actually package singles holidays and offer the matching service as part of the deal. And if they can't find a suitable match, you will still pay the lower price. So a good example of that is Vacations to Go. They put together solo cruises throughout the year in all different regions, and they do that matching service. So that's a good one to look at if you want someone else to do the job for you. There's also a whole bunch of cruise sites that you can go to where they offer matching services. So a couple of ones that I have come across that I know really work for people is there's cruisemates.com, there's cruisetrends.com, silversurfers.com, cruisemate finder. So a whole bunch of sites that are cruise related, and there's lots of forums there where you can find a cabin mate. Another one that's really popular and lots of people have found have worked for them is using the site meetup.com. On there, if you search for solo cruises or single cruises, you'll find lots of groups which are often location or cruise specific, where people are looking to meet other people to go cruising with. The next really interesting service is around luggage transfer services. It can be a real big hassle taking your bags on flights, getting them, transferring to the buses, getting to the ship, carrying on the ship, and all that hassle of bags, wherever it is around the world that you're joining your cruise. There are a whole bunch of luggage transfer opportunities that you have. Now, many of the cruise lines partner with different companies to do that, but you can also go to the companies direct. The main company that cruise lines partner with is called luggageforward.com. So Princess, Seabourn, Regent Seven Seas, Cunard, Holland America, Oceania, Uniworld, Viking, and Windstar at the time of recording all use luggageforward.com. Crystal Cruises uses a different company which is called luggageconcierge.com. But if you want to do it yourself, there are many other sites online. So for example, there's another site which is also very popular, which is called luggagemule.co.uk out of the UK. It can be a relatively expensive thing to do because they charge between $5 to $8 a pound roughly. So it could cost you $200 or $300 to send your bag to the ship and vice versa, but it could take a lot of hassle out. If you want a less expensive way of doing it, also understand what other options your cruise line offers. So for example, with Royal Caribbean, you have an opportunity where you can actually check your bags in on the ship and they take it to the airport. Or you have Disney, for example, where if you are staying at one of their resort hotels in Orlando, they will then transfer that bag right through to the ship. The third service that could transform your cruising experience, a lot of people might already know about, and that's independent shore excursions. But there are a couple of services which are really great because they integrate really seamlessly with the cruise experience. On these sites, you basically go, you input your cruise, and then for every single port, it will give you the excursions which they offer. You'll normally find there are smaller groups and they are a cheaper price. Some of the ones to look at are shoretrips.com, cruisingexcursions.com, and shoreexcursionsgroup.com. They also will include guarantees that will get you back to the ship on time, and if they don't, it will be their cost and hassle to get you to get back to the ship. But these are companies that have been around for a long time and really integrate seamlessly with the cruising experience. And that's something that people are using more and more because excursions can be a big cost, and the advantage of some of these services is you can do some different excursions, often with smaller groups and at a lower cost. But always check the terms and conditions and make sure things like getting you back to the ship on time is covered. Another service that I came across that is fantastic because it makes cruising possible for people that have accessibility or other issues. And this is companies that you can hire accessibility equipment, whether it's as simple as wheelchairs or mobility scooters, right through to equipment that help make your cabin accessible friendly, specific things for your bed or bath or whatever. And these are great because it means people that perhaps couldn't cruise before can now make sure that the cruising experience is set up for them. And these are companies, they partner with different cruise lines and they set it up on the ship themselves because they have arrangement with the ships. If you ever looking at anything like that, the companies that I know and have heard people use and are very happy with include companies like Special Needs at Sea.com, Mobility at Sea.com, and another company called scootaround.com. So these are great companies with great services. So even if perhaps one day you've injured yourself and you're going on a cruise and you just need a wheelchair because you've broken your leg or something, take a look because it's going to revolutionize the way that you cruise. Great services. Linked to that is another great service which is perhaps a little bit more specialized. And these are people who will provide carers with medical backgrounds, so they're normally nurses, who will come on a cruise with you if you do have any medical needs. And it avoids you then having to use the medical center, but also a lot of the cruise lines won't let you on unless you have someone who cares for you. So they can make sure that they will escort you on excursions, they'll sort out your cabin if there's any special needs and deal with any medical issues you've got. One of the companies that does that is a company that's called medicaltravelcompanions.com. And these are really helpful whether you have a medical issue, a mental issue, or anything like that, and they will come on the cruise with you and they will look after you and all of your needs. So that's a great service, again, because it means that people who perhaps couldn't go cruising before can now go cruising. One of the services that isn't going to cost you any money is if you're traveling by yourself, whether you're a lady or a gentleman, and you love to dance, a lot of cruise lines have gentlemen or lady dance hosts. These tend to be on cruise lines which will have live dance music, and it means that you always have someone to dance with without having the embarrassment of trying to find someone to dance with. Now you have to be really careful if you are interested in that particular service who provides it. So you'll find lines like Cunard have it, I've been on Saga Cruises have it. So to really take a look at the cruise lines, you'll tend to find it tends to be cruise lines that have a slightly more traditional cruising experience. So take a look and find out if they do have dance hosts. That's a service that will certainly make you in the evenings have a great time and not restrict you in what you can do versus people who are traveling with friends or family. Another service which is really great, particularly if you're going on a cruise for a special occasion, is many cruise lines have massive big shops which you can order online before you go. So you can order things like room decorations or treats in the room, whether it's champagne, chocolate strawberries, flowers, special gifts, merchandise, all sorts of crazy things that you can do, things you wouldn't even expect. Now, some of them also you can then buy and have delivered at home. But the great thing is if you're going on a cruise with a friend or family or a partner and you've got some event coming up, an anniversary, a birthday, something like that, you can order some crazy things for your cabin, and so when you arrive your cabin can be decorated, can be lots of treats there. So some of the ones to look at, for example, some of the biggest lines that have them are the Carnival Fun Shop, which is at carnival.com/funshops. Royal Caribbean have royalcaribbean.com/royal gifts, and Norwegian site is norwegiangiftshop.com. When it comes to shopping and buying things online for cruising, there is another service which may not be applicable to you unless you're a crew, but there is sites out there and companies out there that will help relieve the pressure of crew when they have limited time on board to have to go and do chores. So for example, there's a site called forcrewonly.com, and they will do all the shopping in certain ports for crew. They bring it to the ship, and so the crew just has to come off and fetch it from the delivery people there. They'll do things like you can have Amazon orders processed through there. They have an online site where there's a myriad of things from toiletries to gifts, all sorts of things that crew can then order. It means that when they do have that limited amount of time, they can actually go and relax and enjoy themselves or have a nap or whatever and let someone else do the shopping. There's loads of different services growing and popping up all around the place as cruising becomes more and more popular. Those are 8 of them that I've come across that I think will change the way that people cruise and the things they do on cruising a really big way. If you have any others, I'd love to hear from you, but I do have many more videos packed full of cruising tips, advice and ideas. So why don't you watch another one of those right now?